Senator Hawley, you're recognized for your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to all the witnesses for being here. Mr. Resicott, if I could start with you, I want to ask you about one of the most potent drugs that is crossing our border and is flooding into my state and unfortunately just about every state in the country, and that's fentanyl. In 2021, CBP seized more than 10,000 pounds of fentanyl. In Missouri, where I am from, fentanyl seizures are up 204%. Between 2020 and 2021, about 80,000 people between 18 and 45 died of fentanyl overdoses, and the number of Missourians who have overdosed on fentanyl or related opioids has risen 40% just in the last 2 years. A number of members of Congress have called for designating fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. I'm just looking at the list here. Senator Markey has talked about it. Congressman Ryan from Ohio has talked about it. Congresswoman Boebert has talked about it. I think the Florida Attorney General just yesterday urged the administration to declare fentanyl a WMD. I'm wondering if you have a view on this, designating fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Senator. DHS recognizes the lethality of fentanyl. Also recognize the potential for it to be weaponized with devastating consequences. From a CWMD perspective, we address the risks of a weaponized fentanyl or any really weaponized pharmaceutical in our broader efforts to that we work on chemical warfare agents. That said, any declaration of fentanyl as a WMD, I think that you have to carefully consider that because there are legitimate medical uses for fentanyl. And in regards to illicit fentanyl, I think you have to proceed with caution there as well, because what I think you want to avoid is creating overlapping jurisdictions or even diverting, limited WMD resources into a counter-narcotics arena. So I think we just have to think that through a little bit more. But I yield to Dr. Gandhi perhaps on some of the medical issues associated with fentanyl.
Yeah, Dr. Gandhi, go ahead, and then I want to come back, Mr. Resicott, to the weaponization of fentanyl. Sure. Go ahead, Doctor.
Sure. No, I'll just add a couple of thoughts. Fentanyl is absolutely lethal, as we know. I've seen it in my clinical practice. We have a significant role to play at DHS on the significant knowledge gaps that exist with our frontline workforce who have to engage with it all the time. What we have done to that end is deploy our regional medical officers to do training and education with our CBP officers so that they are up to date on this topic, and of course to engage with local, state, and public health on it. And so in a couple of weeks, I think we're doing a first responder safety to fentanyl as a request from the ONDCP. We have to do better there because the knowledge gaps are still significant. Senator.
Very good. Mr. Resicott, just back to this possibility of terrorists or foreign nations weaponizing fentanyl. Can you give me your assessment of, is that likely? What are the concerns around that? Can you speak to that issue?
Yeah, Senator, I would be happy to give you that assessment, but I think it's probably more appropriately done in a different forum, and I'd like to follow up with you on that.
Sure. Great. I'll take you up on that. More generally, national security, are there any other threats to national security that fentanyl presents that we should be aware of and tracking? Anybody on the panel who wants to respond to that? Great. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield the balance of my time.